Right.
So
Julie, that was horrible. Yes, it
we have
was.
somebody that's talking about, actually, there's a couple people talking about Ohio State Reformatory. Robin says it takes her breath. Gettysburg takes my breath away like Ohio State Reformatory does. So have you investigated there, Greg?
Yes.
And
I
so what
How
love
was
many
that like?
days?
I love the East Cell Block.
Really?
Let me
Why?
let me say that it's just, when I first went in there, it was just so awesome. I felt like I was in a scene from Alien,
Mm-hmm.
because all the cells go
Go
straight up
straight up. Yep.
as far as you can see. I think it's 7 stories, if I'm not mistaken. Something like 7. And we
Paul
did.
will tell us if he's in here. He
I
knows.
had a guy. And still to this day, I have the video, and I think I sent it to you too. And I don't know if you even could see it or not, but there was, between the bars, some people say, yes, they start talking about pareidolia and that. And I said, but you could see his hands outside, like the mid bar here. So he had his head up between the bars, and he was looking sideways, and you could see his hands. And every once in a while, his head would go like that. And it was just unbelievable. And that was one of my first big catches as far as I was concerned. But
Mm-hmm.
I know I had a great time there that night. I tried to do a Facebook Live. And as we all know, I have this little condition, with the tremors. And
So,
and it took some of that away, but I was there by myself. And then I'd go in to check my camera. My camera was set up down towards the far end of the East Cell Block on the ground floor, and around the corner was where this shower stall was, the shower room was. And that's where they had caught an apparition in there
Sweet.
back in the day. So I had set my camera up and I was filming all that, and that's when I caught that one. But we would go back into the room because everybody was saying, you don't go by yourself around here. And I had already been down there a couple times. I would go off.
my reason that I agree with that, at least have one other person, because if you experience something, it's
You wanna
just
have a
your
backup.
experience, right? You want someone else to experience that as well, because it validates what happened.
Right.
Yeah.
So we were, at that point, everybody was on their own little thing, and I had really nobody to bring with me at that point. So, it was what it was, and it was just great. That whole area there, solitary confinement was another area that was great. I spent time in the West Cell Block,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had a challenge in the East Cell Block up from the library. There's a ramp that goes down. I want to say it's the third tier up. Third or fourth tier is where the ramp goes from the library. And we had a challenge that we had to walk around the whole entire cell block. And I want to say it was like 30 cells long. And it was like a big oval. So you went down the one side, but you had no lights. I had a digital recorder, so I had a minimal amount of light off of that. But I had that on because I got halfway down the first part of the run and I had somebody that was walking behind me.
Wow.
Mhm.
And then I would stop and I'd start up again. And at that point, that's when my other arm came up because I was feeling that somebody was going to come out and grab me from
Wow.
the cell. And then it got darker and darker. And just when you thought it couldn't get any darker, it got
It got
darker.
Wow.
And we came down to the corner, and there was a section there they put all these prisoners together to protect them from the main population because they were different people. I'll just leave it at that. And I came around the corner, and then that's when I actually got swept on the back side of my thigh.
Well,
Wow.
And that's when I started moving a little faster.
amazing how that happens, isn't it?
But you couldn't see nothing. And I would put my hand out because all you had there was that metal post and that steel cable.
Mhm.
And that's the only thing that prevented you from going head first. So I got back in there, and everybody that went on this thing didn't share any of their story until everybody was done doing it. And then we compared everything, and that was like most of it happened down in the corner.
Wow.
And it was from that population of prisoners.
So have you investigated there more than once?
No, but I want to go back now this year.
Wow.
Well, I
When-
want
when-
to touch on something he said there when we talk about darker and darker.
Mhm.
Have you noticed that we've all experienced this where we're sitting inside of a room doing an EVP session, and or even in a hallway. I'll give you an example. In Randolph County, we were down the basement. It was Paul, myself, and Elvin was sitting there, and all of a sudden, I mean, we were probably sitting 10 feet away from Elvin, you know, in the same hallway, just back from him. And all of a sudden, I couldn't see Elvin anymore. I mean, it had gotten pitch black. I mean, you know, Paul, I'm sure he'll agree because Paul was sitting next to me. You couldn't see him
Wow.
anymore. And this thing went up along the wall and then followed along the wall down there. Then all of a sudden, you could see Elvin again.
Wow.
Mhm.
So it just seems that whenever we're seeing stuff that's really, really dark, and it gets really, really dark, that there's some kind of spirit, ghost, entity, whatever you want to call it, has come into that area and into that room.
I would like to add to that something that we've been to Old South Pittsburgh Hospital,
Yeah.
Right.
and a friend of mine owns it, Ronnie D, and he's up here in Fox Lake by us. And
But he'll do well by us in a few weeks.
since he has gone ahead and reconstructed the place, basically he's done an amazing job putting it back together again and everything, that the whole attitude of the spirits have changed.
That's
There
good.
was
Good or bad.
So what
good.
did you notice? What did you notice though? That I mean, compared to, because I'm assuming that you've investigated there more than once.
Yes.
So based on the first time you were there to the last time that you investigated there, what were the differences that you noticed when it comes to the spirits?
It went from way down here in the beginning to up here as far as the spirituality of the building is concerned.
Okay.
It was an entirely different vibe. Again, the first time I was there, I can remember we're getting ready to go home, and we're gonna leave super early. It's like 2:30 in the morning. I'm by the nurse's station, and I'm all by myself, and I have a flashlight and a K2 and a voice recorder. And I'm sitting in this couch staring down this hallway, which was darker than dark.
Right.
And I would hear these noises, and these noises were coming at me. And then all of a sudden I would go down like this, and I would just grab the flashlight, and I would just sort of look away so it wouldn't blind me, but shoot the flashlight down the hallway just to make sure wasn't anything 5 feet away from me.
Right.
Right.
And then I'd turn it off, and I'd continue, and I could hear them again. And back then, there were pictures. I have pictures that were taken of a guy that was like 7.5 feet tall, who had horns on top of his head, and he was huge. There was one picture like that. There was another picture of a black shadow figure that was like the size of a real large dog with a real big head, that they said was on the tile floor, and you could hear the nails
Mhm.
as it was moving down the hall, scratching the floor. And there's a picture of this thing looking down the side of the hallway. And I've seen that too.
Is
And
that dog still there?
no, I don't think it is.
This girl is afraid of big dogs. I'll just say it now,
No,
whether they're living
no,
or
no,
whether there's a
it's not a
spirit.
real dog. This is,
I
well,
know.
no,
It doesn't matter if
take
it's a
that back,
living dog
okay?
or a spirit dog.
Somebody's
This girl
gonna.
doesn't like big
Yeah.
dogs.
So you're saying that if you heard those, that
Exactly.
somebody's gonna have an accident.
I wouldn't have an accident, but I'll be like, okay, I need Elvin, Steve, Shauna. Somebody needs to come and rescue the girl.
See, I gotta get up in the middle of the night when I hear that, because when I hear that in the bedroom, I know one of the dogs gotta go to the bathroom. And so they don't have an accident. I gotta get up in the middle of the night and let them out.
Ron's done a fantastic job. I mean, it's simply amazing. It's, it's like, it's just a great spot.
Well,
Well,
I
I'm
want to
looking forward to
answer
it.
back. I let it go. Dick had put a comment, and he said, that's why they don't do private homes. Okay, well, we were talking back about private homes. I just wanted to touch on that. One of the reasons that Jen and I really started PPI was it was almost, we used to call it, or at least I used to call it was my ministry to help
Okay.
other people. One of those people that if somebody needs help, I'm going to go out of my way to help them. And even just us going there and just validating for them that there's something there and maybe getting them some kind of help or some kind of peace from it helped a lot of people. And it's one of the reasons why there was a point a couple of years ago where, and this is really no joke, we were doing 50 to 60 investigations a year.
Wow.
Okay, in private homes. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. There were some nights we were doing Friday and Saturday nights that we were investigating. And Jen and I were at all of them. So, teams might have changed, who was there that night, but it was helping those people out. And those people still to this very day email us and thank us for it. So, whereas I love doing, Waverly Hills, I'm looking forward to, South Pittsburgh in a couple of months. I love Randolph, Pottstown, the jail and all that stuff. My best is helping a homeowner, listening to them, talking with them. Sometimes you can debunk stuff that they're hearing. That one old woman, you remember in Indianapolis, Jen, that she had to be like in her late 80s. And when we got there, being a musician, I low pitch hums drive me up a wall. I was a bass player. So I can feel it in my stomach. And we sat down on the couch and all I could hear was down the block, there was a factory. And this whole street had this low pitched hum. And she was talking about this evil hum that this thing does. And it's like, no, that's the factory. Wow. And she had an old television set and she used to hear the popping. Remember when dust used to be on the picture tube? And when the picture tube heated up, you hear those little cracks, those little pop sounds. Well, she kept saying there's something in my TV because it keeps making these noises. No, it was dust that was on the picture tube that was doing it. The third was, and I'm sure that Jake will probably appreciate that, was she kept hearing this ticking sound. And she didn't know what it was. We walked into this woman's kitchen, and no kidding aside, there were 7 clocks in there. And they were all the old clocks that you had the second hand, the tick, 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 tick. I mean, you went in there, it was like, it was like a torture chamber.
Deafening.
But you see, being able to talk to her and letting her know that, a lot of the things that she was worried about could be explained off. People start to feel a little better about it. But then again, on the flip side, we've got some stuff that, we handle with care.
Right.
When we're talking to people. The worst thing to any paranormal investigator that's out there that does a home, please don't tell them there's a demon in their home or the home is really haunted. Okay, you leave, they got to live there.
Right.
Yeah, we had experiences here. That's what I tell them. And here's what we picked up on the evidence. But as I always tell them, because it's happened to me, I was like, has it picked you up by your neck and flung you up against the wall yet? And they say no. And I said, well, if it wanted to, don't you think you could have easily done that? Flung you up to the ceiling, held you up to the ceiling, and then dropped you? And they're like, well, yeah, so but it didn't do it. So what are you really worried about? Now, by the same token, I had something come into my dream, literally pick me up by my neck, flip me up against the wall by the side of the bed, and drop me. Okay, so I know it can do it. I remembered the whole thing while it was happening. Okay, Jen laughed because she thought that I fell out of bed. Okay, but I hadn't fallen out of bed. I mean, I knew exactly what had happened to me.
Wow.
I even got the face of the thing. I still have a picture of, I drew out the face of what it was that did it to me. So I worry for people that are out there that don't protect themselves, for even if it's just a bad energy, you don't want to take that stuff home with you.
Right.
You need to know how to protect yourself.
Yeah. That's for darn sure.
So, Greg, what is the one place that if you could go to and investigate, where would you go?
You mean in the world?
Yes, no matter where it is, where would you want it? Where would you go?
I think Keith Age has me really sort of scratching at Vlad's castle.
Right? Those were some amazing pictures. Now, for those of you who may not know what we're talking about, Keith Age and our lovely, amazing, wonderful Scotty Rourke also does it's an experiment. It's a psychic experiment. And there are a group of us in a Zoom, just like we are now. And we're shown some pictures and we have to figure out which picture was chosen. And one of the places that we seen was this castle, and it is absolutely amazing. So I have to agree with you on that. Just want to let everybody know about that event too.
Now I've been to the catacombs in Rome.
No way.
I've been to Heidelberg, to the castle that was destroyed, and that was all post-military type.
Really?
But I got lost in the catacombs, and I was shooting pictures, and this was on the catacombs off the Appian Way. So that's the one. That's the first catacombs. That's the one where all the first Christians were put. So it went up and down and around the corner, and they would just dig a hole in the wall, and the body would go in the hole in the wall, and that's where it stayed, just like that. Wow. And I was taking all these pictures, and the group got away from me. And the next thing I know, I still could hear them, but I didn't know where they went because the pathway went up and down and back around, and I started feeling real crazy in there too. But it was like they finally found me, I think, about a half hour later.
Wow.
A good friend of ours, Scott Tepperman, has been with Ghost Hunters International,
right,
to Dracula's castle. That's
wow.
There. And one of the stories he was telling us once was that the show was only allowed to film in certain rooms. They weren't allowed to film in some of the other rooms. And him and Joe Chin, while they weren't filming, went strolling around. And he says they went into this one room, and he said was all this activity taking place in there. So they went back out to the producer that was out there and said, we're filming in the wrong place. We need to be inside that room. That's where all the activity is. But they would not let the castle would not let them film in there. So, but he said that is a cool place. He said there's a lot of energy in there, and there's a lot of stuff happening inside that place. So yeah, that's on my bucket list too. Devon's, she has it on hers too.
Yeah.
I
Devin
could
says
speak-
she's going to have to get into shape for that, and I told her I'm right with her on that
You?
one. So I guess we're going to need to make we're going to have to definitely plan a trip to go there.
To the
Transylvania,
castle.
Yeah.
Romania.
Wow. You know,
Everybody save your pennies so we can all go.
you know, with Shadow Hunters, we've done a few really good ones. And the
Uh-huh.
last one I didn't make because old Baraboo in because of the situation I was here with COVID. So,
Right.
so I'm still chomping at the bit about trying to get back to there because
Yeah, that would be a cool place to go too. That, I mean,
it's
I've
really
heard,
neat.
I mean, they shared some of the things that happened and I'm sure we'll get Scotty to talk about that next week because he is my guest next Sunday on the show.
Oh,
So
wow. That's awesome.
so we will definitely be having him to talk about that, and Sharon's going to be the following week. So
Oh, that's
I'm
even
sure we're going to
neater.
get to hear
You
about. I know
got a couple big guns coming up.
I got the A-listers, right? That's the way it works. Everybody that I have on my show is A-listers, so you know.
I just thought it was a list, but okay.
Hey,
A-list.
that's what I was saying too. It's probably just A list.
Uh,
But
No,
those are
no,
the
no.
A-listers.
right,
You guys
yeah.
are the A-listers. Like I had, that's just how I roll, right?
Well, that's awesome. That's the
So-
only way to roll.
Absolutely. So tell me about some of the investigations that you've done with Nick.
We did Pollock Hospital,
Okay.
and that's in Peoria, Illinois.
Uh-huh.
And that was another one of these, as they used to call them, the farms that were set up, and they had not only people that were homeless or anything like that, but also the mental patients and people that were pushed to the side. In other words, the ones that a lot of these other institutions, you know, they couldn't work with them, so they kept them in a room. Well, this doctor that ran the hospital, Pollock, went ahead and went around, and he would run into these people or to different hospitals and say, hey, you know, what about these people? And he'd say, well, we can't do anything. Well, come on, they're coming with me. So he made basically that whole hospital back in the day a place for these people that were thrown to the side.
Oh wow.
So there's a lot of stories included in that of people that were, there was a woman that never really walked, and they put her in a basket and locked her up in the basket, and her limbs became, I think the word is atrophied, or they, you know, she was contorted,
Right.
and they finally let her out
Wow.
and brought her there, and she, once she got to the point where she was able to see herself, she couldn't handle it, so they say that she clawed her own eyes out.
Wow.
Now, was
Yeah.
that when you guys were doing that? Was it when we were in Illinois last year? Where we were doing
Yeah, we
Ashmore?
were doing Ashmore.
Ashmore, yeah, while you were doing that investigation.
Pollock.
Yeah,
Yeah, we had a great night, amazing night.
Oh yeah, that's when we had the storm, and that's when
I
I
was just gonna
said
say,
we
yeah, you had a
cannot
great
have
night.
two super groups in the same state at the same time. Just so
Yeah.
you know, Nick,
In the same storm.
when we have your group and our group together, it causes storms.
I'm behind on video and audio to watch, but I'm gonna tell you, there was stuff blowing down the hallway at Ashmore,
Yeah.
Wow.
which I thought would look really great on a video, because people would say, hey, you see this ball that was here? Now watch what happens to that ball. And it flies. We
Oh
were
my
sitting
God.
inside, there was Paul, Elvin, and myself. We're sitting in the room up on, I want to say it was the third floor, where it has just a metal frame bed that's sitting there in the middle of the room. And we're sitting stretched out in this two little rooms there. And we'd seen the storm outside get a little nasty and stuff, but we were taking it as it was coming. All of a sudden, this wind blew. This wind took that metal door that was there and slammed it shut. I mean, just bang, okay?
Oh,
I've
jeez.
never seen 3 people jump as far as we did, because you're in a dark room and all of a sudden you hear this door, which took like 2 people to move, and the wind just took it shut. And that's when we said, okay, stop. Everything we're doing right now, we're going to stop, and we have to close windows because every window in the place was wide open. And we had to take care of like 2 floors of windows and close everything down and wait for the storm to pass before we'd go back up. So I was afraid a tree was going to come through the window or something at us.
Yeah.
Madison Seminary was another place.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
haven't been to that place.
That's what's his name? Adam's place, isn't
Yes,
it?
it's
Yeah.
Adam. Mhm.
Yeah.
That
Now,
was
were
great.
you like? Did you ever one? There's one in Ohio. What was the place we went to that closed down in Cincinnati?
I don't remember.
Wasn't Madison Seminary?
No, I don't remember the name of
They
it.
were on Ghost Adventures. I can tell you that much.
Huh.
It was an old school.
It was an old church,
Oh, you're talking about the church that was in
Cincinnati.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't remember the name of it. There was a lot of activity that took place there, and they sold it because of the things that happened to them, and then I think it got tore down. It's some rectory.
So it's Somsville,
Yes.
right? Julie put it up there.
Somsville? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was an awesome place. And
Edinburgh.
Ingrid, if you're still on here, Ingrid, you were there with me.
Yes, Edinburgh Manor is another awesome place. I don't know that's a place that you want to go back to.
Yeah.
What place?
Edinburgh Manor.
Edinburgh Manor. Yeah.
I want to get shadow hunters over there because that's really a cool spot.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a really cool spot.
I'm really upset that we can't go back to the one in Spiceland here.
Thornhaven.
Thornhaven Manor.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Have you guys heard anything about Hannah?
No.
Hannah House. Why did I see Jason Snyder had up something about Hannah House?
Yeah, I haven't. I mean, I haven't heard all the details. So.
Either have I.
Hmm.
Well, we'll find out next week because he's going to be on my show.
Okay.
The one with the Y, not the I.
With the Y, not the
Yes. Okay. Right.
I. Jason Snyder.
He's a pimp.
He had everybody. Greg had everybody confused last week. We didn't know if it was Jason with the Y or Jason with the I.
I says, and what's better than having one Jason Snyder, 2 Jason Snyders in a row, 2
Right.
shows in a row.
Now,
Exactly.
anybody that works with him, he works with Keith Age,
Right.
and for the non-com 6 that's going to take place in Poachtown, that just about everybody's going to be at. That's here. He's conducting both of the investigations, Friday night and Saturday night. They're taking 25 people, and they're going to investigate. And all I can say is, go to the Poachtown website, which is poachtown.com. Buy the tickets now before they're gone.
So Nida has a question. She wants to know, has anyone investigated the old Dunning Hospital grounds in Chicago? She says, I believe
Dunning?
most of the grounds is a park
The
now.
old Dunning Hospital grounds.
Wow.
Have you ever investigated there?
No.
No. Have you
Either.
investigated there, Nida? Hopefully we'll get a...
And I guess there's another one, Pine Lawn Manor.
Pine Lawn
And-
Manor is in southern Illinois, down by Oblong, Illinois, in the triangle at the very bottom of the state. And you've got below it, I want to say it's Indiana.
Okay.
Way up, it would be way up in the northwest corner of Indiana. And that's a place that the other Jason Snyder with an I, his team has been in there since last fall.
Mhm.
And they've had objects coming right through the walls.
I know. I mean, he talked about some places that I definitely want to go check out. It's like on my list of places to go. So,
All these places are great. Right now, they're really good because with quarantine, a lot of people were locked up and weren't out in these places. They weren't doing the kind of business, that they were doing. And I think the activity has increased a lot because of that. I know when we went and did Poatstown, and that was the most alive Poatstown had been to us in probably about 2 years. I mean, the activity was all night long that was taking place.
Devin's talking about some of the amazing things from Old Baraboo right now.
Sharon said the place that that Nida had talked about, which Nida says she hasn't investigated there. Sharon says, I know about it. On part of the grounds they built a college. Construction had to stop because so many bodies were being found.
Well, they've got a Chicago high school very close to Dunning
Uh-huh.
that they built, and that's actually open. They actually opened it. They didn't
Yeah.
remove all the bodies.
Yeah, I think that's what she's talking about. That's
Okay.
pretty cool. Well, Sharon will definitely be talking about that too coming up. So I do have another question for you before we wrap things up. Out of all the equipment that you like to use, and I don't mean your eyes and your ears, but what is your favorite and your go-to piece of equipment?
It would be an ITC item, probably. I would say, since I don't have a whole hell of a lot of experience with the portal,
Huh?
it wouldn't be that. It would probably be just a spirit box.
Cool. Well, that's good to know. So, Steve, I know yours is your eyes and your ears, but if you have one piece of equipment, what would it be? What would be your
I
favorite?
still like the Ovilus, and I'll tell you why I like the Ovilus a lot. The Ovilus, at times, we were up in Valparaiso. You know, we were talking about Valparaiso tonight, but we were up there doing an investigation. It was one of the earlier Oviluses. And the thing actually, in phonetic mode, actually said the homeowner's first and last name.
Wow.
Like, in other words, Greg Gus. And it's like, come on, okay? You know, the odds of that are so, I mean,
Infinitesimal.
astronomical. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a couple of times it was right on the mark with things that it said. So I know its abilities, you know, but the dictionary mode, I mean, I'm tired of being called a retard because, you know, that's usual that you hear, and trimester and some words, but I forgot where we were recently. Was it the last time we were at Randolph? One of the places we were at, it was saying words in dictionary mode that I had to come back and look up because I had never heard them before.
Wow.
So, but it is in the dictionary, but it's stuff that actually fit for what we were doing, but we had no idea. You know, it's not something that's usual. And it's like, even, you know, they're talking about Poatstown here now. You know, I guess I got to do my disclaimer. Okay, I do the website for Poatstown for Daryl and stuff. So when I talk about Poatstown, I don't want people to say, oh, he's only saying that because of that. No, we've had some great experiences in Poatstown, including even the last time we were there, of the little girl screaming
Wow.
in the hallway outside that janitor's closet.
Wow.
And let me tell you, you know, I'm an older guy, as you know. You know, I don't move around as much as I used to before, but my butt was out of that chair, out in that hallway, running around seeing, because I thought for sure somebody was messing with me and I was going to get real upset. But we looked everywhere and there was nobody there. It wasn't that coming from outside. It was inside there. A little girl screamed, and we have it on audio too. So
I think go ahead.
no, I mean, so that place for us, even the second floor, there's, when you're going down that long hallway where the doll hallway is, and then you got to go down,
Right.
like over, and then go down, and then go over. Right at the end of this one hallway there, there's a chair that's sitting there before it turns. And we had an experience one night. It was Jen, myself, Elvin, and Shauna were there. The rest of the team had left, and we stayed another hour or two. And I was the first one they put in that seat. So I sat down in the seat, and they were all spread out down the hallway. The moment I sat there, I felt something coming right at me on my left-hand side. And instantly turned the flashlight on because I thought something was coming at me, was about to attack me. There was nothing there. And this happened, like I shut it off, sit there, 10 seconds later. I mean, you actually could feel and hear it coming right at you. Well, after the 5th time of this, it was kind of freaking me out a little bit. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning and my reflexes weren't that great. So I said, okay, who else wants to sit here? So Elvin, I think, was the next one that sat there. Elvin sat there within 20 seconds. Elvin was like, oh, the heck with this. And I think Shauna sat there about a minute and said, no. And then it went to Jen. And actually, Jen got, let you tell it, you actually got sick from sitting there.
Yeah, I did. And I ended up really sick. And when I left there, I had ended up with a migraine and to
Oh,
the
boy.
point that I was violently sick and busted blood vessels in my eyes. So I mean, they cleared up, it took a couple of days, but yeah, it was pretty intense there.
Wow. You think it was one of the kids?
I'm not really sure what it was or who it was. I mean, I've had a few encounters with some of the spirits that are there, and even the last time when we were there, the girl in the white dress, she showed up again, which is, I'm sure, who they heard screaming
Yeah.
from before. So I'm looking forward to go back there again and to investigate. So
Clarification on what I was saying about spirit box before.
mhm.
I would say an Eddie Plus has been really the machine that I've used the most over the last 5 years.
Okay, now you're gonna have to explain to me what that
The
is.
EDI meter that we have.
EDI
Yeah.
Plus.
Okay,
So it's a combination tool that not
okay,
only is EMF, it also does temp,
okay,
humidity, vibration.
And vibration. We have one of those.
okay,
That's the
And-
big longer one that we have.
okay.
But
You can
yeah,
tell how much equipment I use.
It's this one.
it's got a geophone,
Okay.
right?
All
It's got
righty.
like
Got
a
a
built-in
the
geophone.
Okay.
geophone vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been quite a tool. Now, they do have, you can now download the file, I guess, for using the small chip on this one.
Mm-hmm.
So you can record every one of the responses
Oh,
on
that's
a big sheet. So, and then if you can mark the time that you have occurrences happen on your timeline, you can go back to this and see what other things changed at that moment.
Yep.
That's so cool.
Cool.
Now, the tenths of the temperature, when you have variation on the temperature, that's what I was bringing up in that one meeting about where the fluctuation happens in the tenths. And it would go from like 39.5 and it would go back and forth, 39.3, and it would go back to 4 and back and forth. And that was explained originally to me by Keith Age as being when a spirit did not have enough energy to actually communicate, that they were communicating at a vibration level that was less than what we could hear, that was unaudible to us.
Wow.
And it was being transferred into tenths of temperature because that's energy.
Cool.
See, no, I don't look at any of that as being crazy
No,
because
it's not.
yeah, we can't, it scientifically would make sense, but we don't know. So you can't, and I've heard people say, oh no, that's not right. You can't ever say something isn't right or wrong. If it's working and you can prove that it's working, use it. That's how I look at it.
That was the whole thing at the roads that night. The first part that, everybody thought it was so dead.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't dead. They were just communicating at a level that was unaudible at that point.
Makes sense.
And they were still producing the energy.
Well, we do have a question. Ben wants to know, do you feel that colder or warmer weather affects spirit energy and activity? I'll start with you, Greg.
I'd say the colder sort of draws on them as much as it draws on us and keeps the activity level down. Because what happens with us is anything that we be bringing in there to help them as far as raising their levels of energy would also be drained at that time. In other words, if you were out there and it was 10 degrees and you're in a building like down at Pine Lawn, where some of our friends were just there last weekend, the inside of the building when they started the investigation was 15 degrees.
Wow.
So what does that tell you about your gear? Basically, all your gear is going to be no good. So if they are drained themselves energy wise, because of, if you can say cold, maybe not. Maybe they just don't have enough energy at that moment built up. But I think the cold draws off them.
Wow.
I think we're more affected by the cold weather. Cold and warmer weather affects how we interpret and we view and listen. That 15-degree temperature thing, and we've been inside of a place that was Ashmore Estates actually. One year we were in where, oh my God, all you heard was teeth chattering. Okay, that's how cold it was in that building.
That was in November.
Yeah, but the fact is, I think what happens is we're so affected by either the extreme cold or the extreme heat that we're not investigating the same way we would if it was a comfortable temperature. So I can't, for myself, I wouldn't say 100% that it affects them. I know it affects us.
Okay.
So that's going to affect how we view them. But I just can't see the other side being affected by that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about them, but I do know it does make it harder for me to investigate. I mean, we've investigated the jail when it was like above 100 degrees and all you could hear was the sweat dropping down on the floor because it was so hot. And
you're laughing, but we had a reporter from a big newspaper with us sitting in the hallway. And it was the first EVP session sitting in the jail. And we were sitting there and I was gasping for air. It was so hot.
Yeah.
I had shorts on and short sleeve shirt. And he started asking, he says, can I ask a question? He goes, yeah. He says, what's that noise? I said, that's the sweat pouring off of us.
Yeah.
Concrete floor.
It was really hot, but that was just a fun night.
We had the same thing at Madison Seminary, and then we went up into the attic when it was like outside, it was like 80, 88 degrees. And we got up there and it was a sauna.
Yeah. Revenant Acres, Julie's just mentioning that too. That was another place. That was a place literally that we had to leave the recorders inside, and we spent most of our time outside because it was too hot to be inside. Like it was unbearable.
Posttown was the same way.
Worse.
What was that, Greg?
It was worse because heat rises.
Posttown was the same.
Yeah, I would go upstairs. Paul was upstairs. Elvin,
about 88.
I think, was stuck upstairs. And I just was like, no, it's just way too hot. That's another place. That in, what was it, Black Moon Manor? Wasn't that the other building?
Oh, Blackmore?
No, Black Moon Manor. It was a place in Indianapolis that
yeah, our group actually never investigated there. But I mean, we were with another group who investigated there.
But they were all like, oh, there's all this activity taking place here. And it's like, no, all I'm seeing is rodents crawling out of the wall. You know, and they go, but you hear that? It's like, how could you hear anything? There was a highway, a state highway right behind us. You know, and they made up all these stories, and Ghost Adventures was actually the one that outed them. Because they went there and found out all that stuff was BS on there and called them out.
Huh.
So Greg, if you were going to offer somebody any kind of advice that wanted to investigate, to start investigating, what would it be?
What would it be?
Mm-hmm.
Mortgage your home.
Don't spend a real lot of money on equipment. Go out and do a basic package. Talk to somebody if you have the opportunity in the paranormal community to advise you as far as where to get the gear
Mm-hmm.
and get an idea of how much they needed to spend to go ahead and get into it. To find out if they were really going to go ahead and stick to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you see so many people today that are around for 8 or 9 months,
Right.
they're here and gone, and it's not their cup of tea.
Absolutely.
And
I think people they see TV.
Right.
And because we talked about that at some of the presentations, people watch TV and they think it's all fun and games, but they don't realize, if you have 10 recorders that you had running for, let's say, 6 hours, that's 60 hours of recordings you got to listen back to. Not to mention the video you have to watch back. And then even sometimes you listening back to an audio and you hear something and you go back 2 or 3 times, amp it up, you clean it up, and it's Joe saying, I gotta pee, and it's like, darn it, just say it out loud if you have to do that, But there's a lot of work carrying the equipment, buying the equipment, lugging it places, and then afterwards wrapping all that equipment back up, loading it into your car, getting home, unloading all that equipment, and you're talking 3, 4 in the morning sometimes that you're coming back with all that stuff.
There's a combination between my muskie fishing and the paranormal too, in the respect that if you went ahead and define muskie fishing, it's long hours of boredom casting, followed by seconds of just insanity. And the same thing goes for the paranormal. Because, you're always waiting for the needle in the haystack to pop up.
Right.
How many times have I said to Jen, sometimes you're sitting there in a room, and I think to myself, I'm 62 years old. What am I doing talking to myself? Okay, I'm sitting in an empty room talking to myself. Where did I go wrong? Okay, did somewhere along the line I hit my head and I didn't pay attention to it? Okay, because you're right. What they don't realize again with TV, those are 3, 4 days of investigations that they were able to get 12 minutes of activity.
Seconds of insanity.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're sitting there the rest of the time, you're hoping that something happens.
But I'm like you guys, and we all live for it.
Yeah.
And it's the same way with me with my fishing. That it's the pursuit is what makes it.
Well, I will add to what you said, but with the equipment, is that what I've been seeing a lot lately, because those groups have come in and left in 8 or 9 months, buy used in the beginning. If you can, there's a couple of, I know on Facebook, there's a couple of paranormal equipment sites. Find a piece of equipment you're thinking of using. If you can buy, a $100 K2 meter for $30, pay the $30 for it. Try it out. See if it's something you want to use. If it's something that's really good, then you want to go buy a new one, go ahead.
Yeah, you can find especially refurbished stuff, and people honor that too. So, Ghost Stop has a lot of stuff that happens every once in a while with a piece of equipment, and they'll honor it right away. And, you don't have to spend a lot of money. It's just what we get, but look what dowsing rods cost today.
Well, I can go a step further. When those digital recorders, when I first started doing this, I don't know about you, but they were like $30 a piece, $25, $30 a piece. We used them in business meetings and stuff. That's what they were there for. Paranormal came into view. Within 1 year, they went up to like $97.
Hey, Jason.
Look at the Panasonic ones. That one recorder that's sort of a square looking one that's so much money.
Right.
Panasonic, whatever it is. I don't
By the way,
understand
Greg,
that at all.
by the way, Greg, there was something that floated behind you not maybe 5 minutes ago, less than 5 minutes ago. And there's not been anything behind you through the whole show, but I'm just like, did anybody else just see that?
Where was
I
it
don't
at?
know, I was looking
It
at
was
your face.
behind you. You were,
Hey,
you were
guys, so
talking.
it's like,
You were talking, and there was something that just kind of floated behind you all the way down. And there's not been anything like that at all happen the entire
we'll
time.
have to watch back at the film and see.
Yeah, see if you can pick it up so I can go ahead and tell it to get out.
Yeah.
And then, all
No,
I
I
can
have a-
say is, I wish.
I have what's called a devil's nest in here.
Okay.
And I'll show this to you.
Okay. Sharon says that was Margie.
Oh boy. If you can see this.
Oh, that's cool.
Now, you remember the series
That's so cool. I want to
on
know.
HBO with how can I forget the name of it? But anyway, it was all the murders down in Louisiana,
Mm-hmm.
and they found these traps, these devil traps that were hanging in the trees.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a ground one, and it's for keeping spirits.
Oh, wow.
Now, I shouldn't even move this. I should have left it there. But the point being that anything that goes on, if I ever come to a situation where I get home and I have the feeling that I have brought something home with me. We had an instance when we were up in Antioch, and I was telling the group that I brought the gear home and opened up my big metal case, and something had happened there where this one guy was affected and had to leave the room, and my gearbox was right a table over, sitting there wide open. I normally don't keep it open. So right away, the first thought that came into my mind when I brought it in here was, could something have come home? And as I opened up the case, I went ahead and I says, I don't, wherever you are, you only have one place to go, and that's in there.
Wow.
And if you don't go there, you have to leave right now. You're not invited here, period. Wow. And it was given to me. A friend of mine made it.
Uh-huh.
Based on the series that was on HBO,
That is the coolest thing I've seen.
True Detective.
True Detective. I'm gonna have to watch that. Yeah, you know that, right?
The first series.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find that.
And it had Matthew McConaughey, and I was sort of transfixed about the whole thing. And then when I got this, it was like, well, what am I going to do with it? The guy gave it to me for my birthday. I got to take it home.
That is so cool, though. That is really absolutely cool.
I talked to a psychic medium when I first got it and said, is this something that is okay to have?
Uh-huh.
It was like, well, you could give it offerings of tobacco or whiskey.
Right.
To appease it. And it has to stay there now. You can't move it out of where you have it. And I just went ahead and went along with it. I'm not into that end of it. It was just, it's here, it's been here, it's been very accommodating to my family.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing that goes on here because I have grandkids, and
right.
I don't use any of my equipment in here.
Right.
None of my spirit boxes, nothing. Because you don't want to accidentally invite
right.
them.
No, I understand that. I totally understand that.
There's a lot of people that are probably listening that have no idea what we're really talking about.
Right.
This is the serious end of it.
Mm-hmm.
This is where, when everybody goes home, you're still here with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the important part, is that we're all here to help. We're not here to be hindered.
Right.
And that's a major hindering as far as I'm concerned on that end of it. So everybody that I know, we all have protection. I have my St. Michael, I have my St. Benedict, I have my rosaries, I have everything in my gear. I don't go into any place without going ahead and going in, just like if I had my old flak jacket.
Mm-hmm. Is that the same kind of bag that Tina, as Tina refers to hers as the oh shit bag?
Which bag?
With your rosaries and everything else. I mean, she always talks about her oh shit bag. So is that your oh shit bag?
If you have to, yes, oh shit. You better grab the bag. That's for damn sure.
Every time somebody talks about having all of their gear together, that's when I go to. Thanks, Tina Marie.
we all try to do this in the best way we can.
Absolutely.
Because it's our lives too.
Yep, it sure is.
Besides the ones we're helping. And
absolutely.
That's where it all comes into play.
Absolutely. I agree with that. 100%.
And I think it's been one hell of a ride so far. So, and I've enjoyed it immensely. And the people and everything is just the icing on the cake.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
It's in our blood, and it's not something that goes away. I mean, I was talking to Keith about a month ago. He had put up bases, and I was a bass player also. And we sort of like to collect bases and stuff.
Wow.
And it's like you can't get it out of your blood. No matter how much you try to put it down, it's still going to come back. And it's the same thing with the paranormal. Once or twice, I said to Jenn a few years ago, I think that's really going to be it. I'm tired. Friday nights, I'd rather be, a Saturday night. Sometimes I'd rather be sitting with my feet up watching TV than traveling to somebody's house 2 hours away, And it usually happened after that one, especially after that one person tried to pull the wool over our eyes, and we caught them BSing about stuff. And Jenn went absolutely ballistic, and we left because we were afraid to unleash her.
I didn't go ballistic. I was just very straightforward and to the point. And
no, she was foaming at the mouth.
No, I was not. I said, that's it. It's done. It's over. We're out of here.
Right.
And it's like,
cut and dried.
Absolutely. Yeah. She was caught lying. And, it was a night that I didn't have a good feeling about being there in the first place, but the team wanted to go because there was kids involved. And so we went, and the woman was supposed to have somebody else watching her kids, and instead she put them out in the car and allowed them to turn the car on every so often.
5 degrees outside.
And one of our investigators actually saw the car being turned on, and when that happened, the woman was talking to her husband at the time, and I overheard what they were saying. And it was like, that was it. It was done and it was over. Steve and Jake was in the bedroom, and I went into where they were at, and I was like, that's it. It's over. It's done. She's lying. We're out of here. And
see, that's the kind of thing, especially when you do the amounts that you do on your end of the business in the private sector, that, that could really ruin it for a guy that really needs some help down the road.
Yeah.
Because there's nobody that wants to jump anymore.
It's like I said many times, I don't want to be the entertainment.
Right.
You know what? You want to be entertained, go turn on Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventures or Kindred Spirits. There's hundreds of shows on. Put on one of those friggin' shows. I'm not an entertainment. I don't get paid their money to go and do that stuff. I'm giving up my Saturday night. Actually, I've given up my whole Saturday because really, you can't really plan to go anywhere and do anything. So maybe you're going to nap early because you got a long night. Then we got to go. We're going to go and eat dinner someplace. We're going to investigate for 3 or 4 hours, wrap everything up, and go home and unload everything. It's just Jenn and I doing that when we get home. And it's like, don't make me your entertainment, because I'm not. I can be entertaining, but this isn't entertainment for me. I take it serious. And it got to that point at one point there where it's like, that's it, I'm done. I really need to step away from this. But like you said, it's in your blood. And I don't think that even lasted a month before we were investigating again.
Yeah. So, well, guys, I think we're coming to that hour where.
Yeah, that's the 2 hour and 2 minute mark.
2 hours.
Yeah.
2 hours and 2 minutes.
Yeah, we are gonna
2
wrap
hours.
it up.
How did this go? We just started.
I know.
What
You
is
gotta
going
come
on here?
back.
Did
You
you move
gotta come
my
back.
clock around? You moved my-
No. Maybe that's what we saw
Those hands
behind you. We
moved
changed the
again.
clock.
We
You
gotta
know
have
what?
you back.
We can continue on the other side, on my show.
Okay.
We can get together down the road here
Yeah.
in
Absolutely.
March,
Absolutely. Sounds like a
okay,
plan.
and continue with what we're talking about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, tell everybody where they can find you. And by the way, I love your hat.
This is a 1 in a million. I'm the only one that has one of these hats right now. And the shirt,
Oh.
and it usually is in my truck, hanging in my truck,
Hmm.
in case I need to be protected.
There you go. So where can everybody
Working.
find you?
On Facebook, it's just Gregory Koss.
But you have a Facebook page though too, right?
I have a Red Eye custom Facebook page. That's my painting, my fishing. I paint musky baits. That's my guiding business. Everything is all on that page. It's called Red Eye Custom. As far as my paranormal is concerned, it's just my page, my
Okay.
name. I've never got, I have enough to do.
I
You
understand.
know what I mean? And now with all my lessons and everything, I just took with the grace of my mighty mentor, he gave me the couple days off. I asked him for it and said I wanted to slow down and enjoy this weekend and enjoy being on your show and
Aw,
take it from there, So
I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming on to the show.
no, it's been awesome.
I've enjoyed talking to you, and I've enjoyed having Steve with us too. And it's kind of weird since I live with him, right?
I still don't know who she is, but
You could have.
as you can tell, we're not in the same universe. Okay, it looks like I'm in a different universe.
You could have gone ahead. You could have gone ahead and talked from one room to the other with a can, with one of those cans and a
Well,
string.
it's funny. The first time we tried to do it, in the office here, that's where I'm sitting, and her desk is only about 10 feet away, but the mics and stuff just pick up, even just without sound, my voice would carry over to the two mics.
I have one of these that I
Yeah.
got from one of my sons, my
Yeah.
oldest son, and I had hooked it up the first time when I had a different computer,
Mhm.
and then everything went crazy.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I've
So,
thought about trying to use like a headphone mic and stuff like that, but I project my voice when I talk.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm louder. And no matter what, I don't know how to talk lower.
No.
The first girl I lived with had a hearing problem. So you didn't say, "Hi, can you get me the toilet paper?" 'Cause I'm out of toilet-" It's like, "Can you get me the toilet paper? Because I'm out of toilet paper."
Toilet paper.
Yeah, but you sort of get used to talking like that, and then we did, still a little bit of acting, crazy stuff, and then with the band all those years of projecting the voice and stuff, that I don't know how to shut it down. It shuts down when I can't speak anymore. That's really when it shuts down. So, I mean, this is great, for everybody there too. Come out to psychicsunite.com. That's
Yeah,
where a lot of these shows also end up on.
Mhm.
There's a YouTube page for that. It's a well-designed website. No,
Yeah.
sorry, I did that one too. So, but there's a lot of stuff that's on there. People
Absolutely.
talk tonight about all the stuff that they wanted. That they're talking about psychics and all that stuff. That's a place everybody can get together and feel safe and talk. So join up. You can become a member now on the opening page. you can go right there and sign up for the newsletter. As soon as you sign up, open the opening page, it pops right out. Just
Wow.
pop in your information and you signed up for the newsletter.
Well, you
That's
guys have added so many different things to it.
Yeah,
in a
well, we
short
finally got
period
the
of time.
membership working
Yeah.
so that you can actually pay for it and go all the way through and stuff. So,
That's
you know,
awesome.
it's going to be a great place. And, you know, I that's where
already
we all
is.
get together every week. So,
Yep, which
You know,
is, on Monday nights, I'll start off our week. On Monday nights, we have Psychics Unite, which is at 6:30 Central. And you can find the link on any of the Psychics Unite chapter pages, which is located on YouTube or on Facebook. Here I am talking about YouTube. And if you don't have Facebook, or if you know somebody who wants to be part of the Psychics Unite meeting, but they don't have a Facebook page, they can go to psychicsunite.com. The link will be right there on the opening page where you can click on it and join us on Zoom. And then on Tuesday night, we have Sharon Moritz with her Oracle Tuesday, and that's on Shadow Hunters, Paranormal Investigations and Events page. That's at 7 Central. And then on Wednesday, we have Scotty Rourke with his show called Scotty Talks About. And again, that's on Shadow Hunters, Paranormal Investigations and Events. And that's at 7 Central. And then on Thursday, we have the amazing Devin Evans with her show called Truth Bumps. And again, that's on Shadow Hunters, Paranormal Investigations and Events at 7 Central. And then on Friday night, we have the man of the hour, Craig Koss, with his show, The Shadow Hour, on Shadow Hunters, Paranormal Investigations and Events. And that's also at 7 Central. And Nick also has a show on Sundays. Although, Nick, I'm sorry, I don't know what the name of your show is, but it's at 7 Central, correct? Is that when it is?
Yeah, it's
Greg?
got to be 7.
Okay. And then again, my show is also on Sunday nights at 7 Central, 8 Eastern Standard Time. And next week on our show, we'll be having Mr. Scotty Rourke. And he's going to be talking about his journey and sharing a lot of great information with us. So I want to thank everybody for being part of the show. I know it went a little longer than usual, but that's okay because we had some amazing conversations going. And I'll see you next week. Same channel, same time. Have a great week, guys. Bye.
bye.
Thank you, guys.